Many months ago, around Diablo 4's initial launch, I made a video covering some of the third-party websites and tools that I had been using to sort of enhance my gameplay, make it more efficient, and allow me to make somewhat more informed decisions in the game. And now with Season 4 fresh out the gate and leading up to it, a ton of improvements that have come to the game, including a complete itemization overhaul and open trade, I thought it'd be appropriate to cover some of the tools that I use now to enhance my gameplay, where some of the old tools and sites I was using before have either become obsolete or have actually been updated and revamped similar to the game itself to still be useful. In addition to that, I've actually found a lot of new tools that are helpful as well. Starting right off, and I actually have sort of two websites rolled into one here because they kind of serve a similar function. But anyhow, the first is Diablo.trade, and as you can see, and as the name implies, this is a online marketplace for Diablo 4 items. And of course, this is really significant in Season 4 because Blizzard has pretty much opened up trade to virtually all items. I believe Uber Uniques are the only category of items that are not tradable, of course besides like quest items probably. But on here, and also the other website I want to show you, which is the Crimson Market, you can use both websites to basically not only look for things that you might want to pick up for your character, but also sell off items that you might not need to equip but could be useful to somebody else, right? To also help you build wealth in that way, right? I think that has been a really fun part of other games like Diablo 2 and Path of Exile, the ability to sort of build wealth just by finding exciting items that may not necessarily be useful to your character per se, but can still be of value and can help you gear up sort of indirectly in this way of selling and trading. And by the way, I'll be making another video very soon covering how you can utilize trade to build wealth and gear up your character even faster. And also, of course, things like what are the best items to look out for and to pick up and to sell. So definitely check out that video, which I'll link in the description box once it's ready. And on to number 2, we have d4builds.gg, which actually contains a wide variety of resources, but one of the very significant ones, especially for Season 4, is the tempering manuals and tempering affixes list, with of course tempering being a major way that players will be able to augment their gear and characters, right? So this will be really helpful indeed for you to be able to kind of start theory crafting, and also whenever you're tempering to see what is actually possible, right? But you can also check out the list in the game as well. And this I think is still largely based on what was on the PTR. So with the live game, we might have to wait a few days before it gets completely updated, especially if there have been some changes from the PTR to Season 4. Alongside that, you can also go over to their database and check out the gear affixes. So if you actually toggle on public test realm here, if you don't toggle it on, it'll just be the Season 3 affixes, which obviously are outdated. So if you toggle on public test realm, or whenever they change this to Season 4, it should be about the same, if not the same. But anyway, if you toggle this on, you'll be able to see all the new affixes that can spawn on each item slot. And this will be really helpful for not only determining whether an item is worth picking up, what types of affixes that you can expect on your gear, and also some of the affixes that you would want to enchant, right? Which should not be confused with the additional affixes that you would use tempering for. And next up at number 3, and although this hasn't quite been updated for Season 4 just yet, I firmly believe that it will be given its track record, but if and when it does, the way you can basically use this site, which by the way is d4craft.com, is you can actually click on any type of item that you want to reroll an affix on. And let's say this amulet already has 3 affixes and you just want to reroll one of them using the enchanter. And again, this is not tempering, although they might actually update the site to include or account for tempering, but we'll see. But even with just the enchanting functionality, it can still be quite helpful because at least with its current functionality, once you fill out the item's power and also the sell value, let's say it's 925 and then 20,000 gold sell value on this amulet, it can tell you the expected odds of getting your movement speed roll right here, which I added as a requirement with the plus here, is around 20 tries and around 32 million gold with 320 veiled crystals. And again, these are pre-Season 4 costs, so I think we can definitely expect that this will be updated for Season 4 as well. Moving on though, on to tool number 4, we have Diablo4.life/tool/gambling, and this one has been updated for the PTR, and if there have been any changes in Season 4, will also be updated for Season 4. But the way this one works is for aspect gambling, as in it'll tell you what the best item type or the gear type, say weapon or gloves or whatever it is, that you should gamble for the best cost or the lowest cost of getting a specific aspect that you want. So for example, if I wanted to target a necromancer aspect, I can pick or filter these aspects by class. So I pick necro, and here I want utility, and then I want to specifically look for the aspect of occult dominion. Just by clicking on these options and narrowing down what I want, it shows me that the most optimal item to gamble, as in this is the cheapest and most efficient way to gamble using my obols to get this specific aspect, it is using the boot slot. So unless you already possess all of this knowledge, using this tool should help you save quite a bit of obols over the long run, especially with the importance or increased importance and also drop rate of obols in Season 4. And now this next tool called D4 Ultimate Tool, which is kind of a funny name, and it's d4ut.net. It's a very interesting and probably helpful tool as well, because it can actually help you determine the actual amount of damage that you'll be able to deal without sort of relying on these pretty inaccurate in-game tool tips and such. So all you need to do is to select your class, select the skill that you want to check the damage of, because each skill has like a specific skill multiplier, and you really just want to go down the list and fill out the various attribute that your character currently has, right? However, I don't think this has been updated to Season 4 just yet, but the calculation should still be accurate, although a lot of the cluttering with the affixes from pre-Season 4 is still present here, I think. So you can kind of skip over those, or perhaps wait for a newer version if there is going to be one. But basically, you just need to plug everything in and it should calculate a pretty accurate damage number for you. Alternatively, you can kind of learn the system yourself or design your own spreadsheet. Of course, this will take a bit more effort, but if you really wanted to push tough content like higher level pits, this could be very well worth your time, especially when it comes to even spending gold or optimizing your trading to really deck out your character in the correct way, right? And optimize your build in the right way. And so to do this, I haven't quite designed my own spreadsheet just yet, but this video here I think is a really helpful one. It's by Macrobioboi, or Macrobioboi rather, and he's done a comprehensive video on how you can easily make your own spreadsheet and calculate your own damage. And I'll link his video in the description box below as well. And moving on to our sixth tool, this is a somewhat niche one, but it's the Diablo 4 Paragon board Glyph Radius Guide Season 4 by Wowhead. The URL is really long, so I'll just link it in the description box below, and of course as with all the other resources on this list as well. But essentially the way this one works is it tells you the maximum amount of stats per Paragon board that any given glyph that you socket into a board can absorb. So essentially what this means is you'll see that with any Paragon or with most Paragon glyphs, it actually gives you a percentage of damage or some kind of bonus based on how much of a certain stat, such as strength or dex or willpower and whatnot. It'll give you more of that stat or percentage gain with however many of that stat you're able to reach within the range of that glyph. So what this chart here tells you, for example, for the Barbarian, and if we look at the starting Paragon board, which is the first Paragon board, right? The maximum amount of strength that any glyph that you socket into it can gain is 70. 70 is quite a lot, right? But the most strength that you can get is actually from the Carnage board, and it's actually marked with the blue star here. On the Carnage board, you can actually get a whopping 75 maximum strength, benefiting a specific Paragon glyph. And again, I think this is really helpful and kind of underrated because there are a lot of builds online that you can find, but many of them just kind of do things a bit arbitrarily. Many different, even top players will have different glyphs socketed into different Paragon boards anyway. So this is just a way to sort of better understand Paragon boards and Paragon glyphs and how you might make a more conscious choice in determining what glyphs to socket into each board. And counting down our last two tools, this one has been famous or infamous for a very long time, and it's Helltides.com. This might not be nearly as useful as before, but I personally still use it, mainly to determine where the various chests are, and not only the mysterious chests, but of course the chests of living steel, where they spawn for each respective Helltide zone. And aside from that, you can even check out where events tend to spawn in each Helltide, and personally I like to go and patrol around these event spawning areas to really maximize the rewards I get from each Helltide, and of course including not only cinders but also the obols that I can then use for gambling. With again in Season 4, gambling sort of being buffed, where when you're level 100 you can actually guarantee max item power gambles. And finally, last and probably least actually, we have a gauntlet map planner. And I realized that, and the reason that I say this is probably the least important tool out of all of them is that I realized that the gauntlet is probably not everybody's favorite feature, but in Season 4 you can actually guarantee yourself a unique as long as you complete the gauntlet at the worthy level, right? Which is quite easy to achieve indeed. And by using this planner, which by the way, I don't have an active map to show you right now as I'm filming this because this was filmed right before Season 4 where there was no gauntlet on the last week of Season 3. So that's why I don't have like a map planner to show you right now. But once Season 4 is live and once gauntlet restarts, you'll be able to see, or you should be able to see as long as they keep maintaining the site, a layout of the gauntlet map where the bosses are in each respective or each week's gauntlet, as well as where each of the shrines are to help you kind of plan out your route. And even if you don't want to spend that much effort, it can be pretty helpful to help you determine again where you can kill the bosses and activate the shrines for maximum points for you to better guarantee your maximum rewards for that week. And with that, those were more than 8 cool and useful tools that I personally use to sort of enhance my gameplay in Diablo 4. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether you have anything to add, and I'll be sure to reply to your comments. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.